can help them address some of the issues.
Yes.
But if, as you say, if they come where that's not an important part of their life, then your job is not to convert them or to move them in a particular direction.
Correct.
So you are ecumenically based, even interfaith, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's true of the whole Samaritan organization.
The whole network.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How does someone get in touch with you? Where can they find out more about the Samaritan Center?
Well, our website is SamaritanEndicott.com, and our phone number is 607-754-2660. Write it down.
Yeah, right.
754-2660.
Okay. And that will get them in touch with the Endicott office, but also making appointments through Windsor.
They can do both.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I want to move to that part of the education and training piece that builds on the spiritual part, meditation and prayer, because this now moves us not away from counseling, but it does move us in a different direction about another service that you could offer both to a community of faith, a church or a synagogue, but also individuals.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
What's the basis of that, or what would you have to offer there?
Well, counselors would go to a church or a congregation or just whatever group would be interested in and talk with them about how to meditate, learning how to do it, taking them through the process. It's a way to bring peace. It can be for people of faith or people of no faith.
Yes.
Because meditation is worldwide. It's global. So.
Yeah. So you could offer some handles for increasing that and making space for that in your own life. Yeah. With whether you're part of a larger community or not.
Or not.
Yeah. So moving from this building, which is kind of cut up, it used to be a home and now it's full of little spaces here and there and stairs to climb to a new facility. Tell me the address of the new building.
It's only about 2 miles from where we are now. It's down the other end of East Main Street. It's in Endwell, right at the corner where North meets East Main, 3001 East Main Street. It is 2 floors, so there's still some stairs, but we will actually have 4 counseling offices on the first floor.
Okay.
And another 7 on the second floor, right. So quite a large facility.
Very good, great. Anything that I've not asked you that you want folks to know?
Well, we would love to have everyone come to our Sweet Taste of Europe event, November 4th. It's a Friday evening at 7 o'clock. It's at Our Lady of Good Counsel. Great. Tickets are $20. Call the office.
Good. And will you have a ribbon cutting or some formal?
We will. We are in the process of choosing a date and deciding how we're going to make all that happen.
Right.
Depression, grief, relationship issues, concern for your children. Samaritan is here to help. Samaritan counselors are clinically trained, licensed professionals, helping everyone they can, regardless of gender, race, orientation, or religion. Our compassionate and confidential care heals and empowers the whole person, body, mind, spirit, and community. To make an appointment with a Samaritan counselor, call 607-754-2660 or visit SamaritanEndicott.com.
Our guests have been Matt White, who is on the board of directors of the Samaritan Center, and Marion Towers is the executive director.
Once again, the Samaritan Center will be leaving its longtime home in the Union District of Endicott soon, moving to 3001 East Main Street in Endwell, a building currently being renovated to provide an accessible, welcoming environment to all who seek counseling with a spiritually sensitive approach. Keep in mind the mental health issues the Samaritan counselors can help with. They include, but are not limited to, addictions, aging, anger, anxiety, depression, family conflicts, grief and loss, marital issues, parenting, life changes and career changes, and stress management. With the move from 202 East Main Street to 3001 Main Street in Endwell, the Samaritan Center leaves a building open on what you might call the campus of the Union Presbyterian Church in the Union District of Endicott. So the church has this building that was a manse at one time. We have a couple of minutes left here on the Encounter program, so let me describe what to do with 202, that building which will soon be empty. The church has a very specific way of going about doing some brainstorming about this. Let me just share the process with you because I think it's kind of fun. It's thoughtful, it's prayerful, and it includes a lot of newsprint and markers. Pastor Pat Robb gathered us after worship one Sunday, and we began to brainstorm. After dinner, of course, because you can't do brainstorming on an empty stomach. So we looked at what we have in the building. We looked first at the building and described it for folks because some folks had not been there in a long time or perhaps had never been inside. So we listed all the things that we have. The positives: it's a sturdy old house. Lots of potential. It's on a bus route. It's highly visible to the community. We also looked at some of the negatives involved. There's no kitchen anymore because it wasn't needed for a Samaritan Counseling Center. Accessibility issues. There were some problems with renovation. So then we looked at some of the community needs. Here's the building. Now, what's the community like? And we discussed the fact that we're not very far from several schools, a mile from Union Endicott, and we're just a few blocks from the Jenny F. Snap Middle School. And then we looked at some of the other folks in the neighborhood. For example, there's some elderly housing nearby. And there is always, of course, a place for youth, needs for youth in our community. We looked at some of the problems facing Western Broome and Eastern Tioga, and they would include things like hunger and addiction issues. So now looking at the space and looking at the needs and looking at the community, now we begin to brainstorm. And when you brainstorm, you don't use a lot of judgment. You don't criticize the process as it goes. You simply throw things out there. And so table by table in the fellowship hall of the church, each group came up with ideas that they thought would work for 202 East Main Street when that building becomes empty. Just some of them: refugee resettlement, for example. We know that we have refugees coming to this country, and so maybe 2 families could be settled there. We looked at a place where people could study literacy or English as a second language. We looked at it as a place where maybe youth ministry could take place, maybe an after-school program for youth or tutoring for youth. Maybe it could be an adjunct to the local library. We looked at something called the Pay It Forward Cafe, and this got a lot of votes as people around the tables talked about what to do with 202, to have a place where people could go and have maybe breakfast and pay what they could. And then maybe that same space could be used as one of the 1,001 new worshiping communities in our denomination, where maybe on Saturday afternoons there could be worship and then a coffee house at night. My favorite idea was the jazz club with water feature, some sort of fountain or something. But there were more serious things too, as we looked at the ideas for using this building and not taking into account what it was going to cost for renovation. Grants are available for that kind of thing. So the building is there, and on a future Encounter program, we'll probably be looking back at what that building is going to be for the community, and we'll have an announcement perhaps about its next residents, perhaps a hub for nonprofit organizations in that part of Broome County. So as the Samaritan Center moves out, now we begin to think about the future, the stewardship of the building and the mission of the church, a congregation finding new meaning and purpose. I'm Jeff Kellam, and thank you for joining us for this edition of Encounter. Next week, Kelly Devine will be talking with the Executive Director of the Broome County Habitat for Humanity, and that will be our next program. In the meantime, I hope that you'll be gentle with people and with yourself.